the Dream 100 Show. The epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tesner.
Hey there, and welcome to episode 8 of the Dream 100 Show. Today's topic is all about gifting within the Dream 100 strategy. So there are a lot of really amazing ways to break through the noise when you're trying to get to those Dream 100 prospects. And one of my favorite ways is to deploy strategic and highly personalized gifts. So in the last couple of weeks, we've been going through week by week on how to deploy the Dream 100 strategy. We've been talking through the framework so that you could have a working system, essentially, and really a good working understanding of the strategy. Now, as we're getting towards the tail end, the episode for today about gifting is going to be very, very interesting. Because sending emails, making cold phone calls, posting on social media, all this stuff helps. And it's that whole concept of hitting your daily singles, as I talked about in last week's episode. But with gifting, it can really move a relationship forward very, very quickly. So without doing a big recap, last week's episode talked about how you can start doing your outreach so that you don't seem overly salesy. So do you just send a message and say, hey, let's get on a phone call? Do you try and invite them onto your podcast, which I talked about as one of my favorite strategies? And we went through a lot of the languaging and the how. So from a gift standpoint, there are a lot of different things you need to consider. And I want to talk you through this. And I want to almost make this more as a little bit of a brainstorm. So if you need to pause this as you're listening to it and kind of write down some notes as we kind of build throughout the show. So the biggest thing that you need to figure out first, before anything else, is how much money are you willing to invest in this strategy? So if we do some really rough math, you know that you've got at least 100 contacts. If you were to send out 100 gifts, for example, and those gifts were $100 each, you can do the math on that. You're going to be investing $10,000. Now, as we talk throughout the show today, you'll learn that we're not going to send out 100 gifts right out of the bat. But what you want to look at is, do you have budget to sustain an ongoing gifting campaign? So the success that I have seen from a gift standpoint is where you're strategically sending these out after your prospect has done something. Now, depending on the types of prospects that you're going after, the type of industries, that something could be as subtle as them responding to one of your comments on their Facebook page or their LinkedIn account. Or it could be a little bit more non-subtle, where they're sending you an email, they're sending you a direct message on Facebook. You have to leverage the insight that you have of your marketplace. So let me give you a perfect example. If you're going after some really big fish, you're going after some people that you know are going to be very, very challenging to get a hold of, very, very challenging to kind of break through the noise. When you're deploying gifts, you can do one of two things. The first one is if they acknowledge something. Example, again, they reply to one of your Facebook comments. That could then trigger you to be sending out a personalized gift. The other option is that after roughly 30 to 45 days of you executing your daily singles, so commenting on their Facebook page, their personal page, their business page, Instagram, TikTok, adding them as a friend, as you start to do that stuff, you're going to have to leverage the data that you're getting back. If everyone is ignoring you out of those Dream 100, then you're really going to have to take a look at your messaging. There's a lot of other things that could be off. One of the final shows that I'll do initially for this kind of first sequence will be Q&A and kind of all the things that I see tripping people up. And that's definitely one of them, is that the languaging, they go way too salesy right out of the gate. They forget to update their social profiles. So while people do go and look at your profile, they are turned off, and then that skews your numbers. But of those 100, within a 30 to 45 day time period, you probably will get 10 or 15 people that have started to kind of do something with you. As I like to say, you'll start to see the cream that is kind of rising to the top. That could be direct messages, emails, comments, etc. Now, the value of the gift is a very tricky one. It's tricky because these gifts can be very expensive. B, you have to know that there's a fine line between deploying this strategy and having it seem like a bribe. If you're going after people that have heavy regulations, I'll give you a perfect example. If you're going after the credit union industry and you're going after the VPs or the CEOs of credit unions or even banks, they have very heavy policies that have the guidelines of what they can or cannot accept from a quote-unquote vendor. So you're going to be seen as a vendor. I mean, you're not necessarily a vendor yet, but they can't be taking bribes. Like, you can't be putting something that is a $10,000 gift in the mail to them to get a meeting. You have to be very, very cautious and careful. So that is really going to vary depending on the people that you're going after. So it's make sure, at least initially, that as you start to deploy these gifts, that they're coming across as genuine and authentic. And we'll talk through what are some of my favorite gifts that are going to really get your foot in the door, ideally. So the first thing, again, is looking at that value. So can you send like a $50 to $100 gift, for example? The other thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to send a gift that is just so cheap that it's almost insulting. Perfect example. I'm sure you probably have gotten people that have sent you $5 Starbucks gift cards, for example, or maybe $10. You'll get those, hey, if you come on and take a meeting with me, I'll send you a $5 Starbucks gift card. The people that you're going after, their time should be worth a lot more than $5. So that is one of those gifts that's just overly insulting. So you cannot cheap out when you start to deploy this gifting strategy. You might say, okay, Michael, great. You just gave me all these notes of don't go too low, don't go too high, don't make it seem like a bribe. So what is the ideal dollar amount? For gift number one, I like to have it somewhere in the $30 to $50 range. I don't like to go below 30. I'll go up to typically $75 or $100 for gift number one, but that sweet spot tends to be the $30 to $50 range. Now, if you're working your list, as I said, you'll have 10, 15, maybe 20 people in that first month or so that raised their hand or at least acknowledged you. And for me, that then triggers moving it to the next level. And that next level would be a gift. So what would you send, and how do you really differentiate yourself? So my background, and I think I mentioned it in the first episode, and if I didn't, shame on me, but my background is in guerrilla marketing. I'm the former chief marketing officer. I work directly with and for J. Conrad Levinson and his wife, Jeannie. So all the things that I do are rooted in guerrilla marketing. And guerrilla marketing, the framework is using time, energy, imagination, outside the box ideas instead of lots of money to produce better marketing results. So sending something that everyone else has already done is not really going to have you break through the noise. So my favorite gift for gift number one is a customized pen. We send quite a few pens every single month. And what do I mean by customized? My ultimate favorite gift is where the pen has material that's made out of something that is of significance to them. Example, if they have a favorite sports team, and you should know all of this stuff because you had all those weeks and weeks to do your data gathering, where you were finding out where they went to college, where they went to high school, what sports teams they like, what restaurants do they go to. You found out all of those different things. So if you take that list, there are dozens of places online, and we actually have one as well. I'll make sure I link it in the show notes, where we actually can produce these pens for you. And we source the materials, and then we produce them here in Buffalo, New York. But you want to source what's called a pen blank. So the pen blank is made of material that could be, for example, material from the Buffalo Bills stadium, from the seats in the stadium. It could be from the New York Yankees stadium. It could be from, Virginia Tech, for example. It could be material from a U.S. flag. We even have some stuff that came from Amelia Earhart's airplane. Some of the fabric was put into a pen blank. So if you had someone that was big into aviation and they liked or commented on some things like that, you would have a pen like this done. Now, these typically are not $50. They're typically closer to that $100 mark. Some, depending on the material, can go up exponentially higher. But if you were asking me, Michael, what's the one that you're getting the best response on? It is definitely these customized pen blanks. And here's why. When I send it, so we get it made, and then I put together a little care package. It comes in a really nice box. It's got a certificate of authenticity. And I then include a handwritten note that says something like this: Dear Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, you've probably seen me commenting on your social media the last couple of days. If you haven't noticed, I'm a huge fan of yours. I noticed that you went to college in Virginia Tech. No, I didn't stalk you too much. It was on your LinkedIn profile. I thought you would appreciate this pen. And I had this pen custom made just for you. And you'll see with the enclosed certificate of authenticity, I guess that's a hard word to say, that this was made from material extracted from Virginia Tech. Would love to have a conversation one of these days to see if there's some fun things we could do together. Here's my cell phone. Call or text anytime. Hope you enjoy the pen. Michael. And then I probably would include a PS. PS go, and I don't know what the mascot is for Virginia Tech. Let's say it's Wildcats. Probably not, but like PS go Wildcats or go Orange or whatever. And it doesn't have to be a sports team. Again, it could be something that is unique to them, but that is the key with these pens. It's not saying I had this pen made for you. I had this pen custom made for you because I noticed X, Y, Z. That's the key of this entire piece. That's the key with all the other gifts we're going to talk about, is that it has to have a personal connection. Anyone can go to Starbucks, order a gift card, put the person's email address in, and send them a $20 Starbucks gift card. $50 probably would get noticed a little bit more. But how is that unique? How is that unique? So if I was looking at gift number one, you could do one of a couple things. First, again, you could send it to everyone that's on your Dream 100 list. But again, that math gets very, very expensive. So what we like to do is we start to send gifts as people are interacting with us. And we'll start to vary the gifts based on the interaction. For example, I may lower my budget a little bit and say, well, that first gift, I am going to cap it at $50. And if I'm capping it at $50, I'm going to do the same kind of thing that I would do with the pen, but I'm going to find something else. Whether that is finding a restaurant that they've checked into on Facebook. It could be somewhere that they recently took their kids and there were some pictures that were posted. Something that is unique to them. If they recently took a trip, you might say, I noticed that you recently were in Italy. Here's one of my favorite wines. I don't know if you had a chance to sample it while you were there. But it's that personalized nature. Now, the challenge with this is that you have to make sure that it doesn't cross the stalkerness area. Stalkerness would be, they went to a restaurant yesterday and then you put a gift certificate in the mail for that exact same restaurant. I just noticed that you were there yesterday. I thought you would enjoy this gift card. That is a little bit too stalkerish. You also want to look at things that are ideally in the public knowledge, public domain, so that it's readily available to where they could do the same Google search and find that information publicly. Maybe there's a certain book that they like and you go and you track down a first edition. So it starts to kind of grow as we move in the process. But the first gift's typically $30 to $50 is that magical number that I like to stay within. Now, you might say the people that you're going after, each relationship has a minimum value of $1 million. You're probably going to second guess or rethink a $30 to $50 gift. You might also notice that this is really going to be a very long game. So to me, long game is 6 to 12 months. You might say, well, Michael, it's going to take possibly a year of commenting and posting and inviting them to this show and sending them this helpful article and this gift to where they end up replying to something. You might have to raise the value of the gift. If you only get a couple of replies right out of the gate, you might want to raise the value to $100 or $200. So from a budgeting standpoint, I like to try and keep it to kind of a capped number once a month. And it's a fluid number, but let's say you're putting aside $2,500 a month for gifts, or $5,000 or $1,000, whatever the number is that you have to work with. But again, know that these people should have the ability to transform your life and your business. And as Dan Kennedy says, those who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. So you can't go so cheap, but I also understand that it's one of those where you can't just throw $10,000 and put yourself into a really deep hole. You have to use your best judgment. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's definitely nimble and it's fluid based on a variety of different factors. But look at how many replies you get in the first month. How many people commented back? And maybe month one you send out 5 gifts, and next month you send out another 5, and then the next month maybe it's 10. And what you do after the gift is sent and received, you're going to send an email and or you're going to make a phone call. And the phone call is very, very simple. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I just wanted to make sure I put a fun gift in the mail for you. It says it was delivered. I just wanted to make sure that it got to you. Yeah, it got to me. Okay, great. As I wrote in the letter, would love to have a conversation. I know I caught you off guard, so I don't expect to have a conversation right now. When can we potentially schedule a call? Or you leave it a little bit more open-ended. It varies based on each individual relationship. So it's hard for me to tell you exactly what to do. I have to know the tonality on the other side of the call, the type of person that you're going after, the size value of the potential relationship. There's a lot of things at play to see, should you be a little bit more salesy on that initial call? At the very, very least, I'm sending an email and a direct message on one of the social platforms that's saying, hey, put this in the mail. I just wanted to make sure that it got to you. I've enjoyed getting to know you. So you're kind of reiterating what was said in your letter, but you're sending that digitally. And if you really want to move that needle a little bit faster, you're also going to follow up with a phone call. So they're getting the gift in the mail. They're getting 30 to 45 days of you commenting, liking their stuff, sharing, all that fun stuff. Then they get a gift in the mail. Where do you go from here? So gifts work extremely, extremely well. They work extremely, extremely well. So I want you to keep working your way through your entire Dream 100 list. And at the very least, I would love if every person on that list got at least one gift. You might say, well, Michael, if they didn't acknowledge anything, any of my social media stuff, they didn't reply to anything, I've been commenting every day for 2 months, 3 months. They didn't do anything. They haven't even acknowledged me. Why would I send a gift? Why not? If you told me that that relationship has the potential value to transform your business, why are you going to give up because they haven't acknowledged you yet? You have to play the long game. So the pens are one of my favorite gifts. The second one that I like, as I mentioned, is a gift card or gift certificate to something that they have went to in the last couple of months, or a gift from a place that they recently had traveled to. And again, recent, we're talking a few months. Don't send them something from like a week or two ago because that kind of gets a little bit creepy. Now, there are lots of other things you can send. But if you look at what are the things that everybody else sends, they send Starbucks gift cards. They send gift baskets from gourmetgiftbaskets.com, for example. They send edible arrangements. And those things are all fine. But if everybody else is sending them, why would you want to do the exact same thing? So what else would I suggest you send? From there, you continue to look at their hobbies, their interests. I might send them something that is nicely engraved with their name or their company logo. I might send a really nice knife set if they're into sports cards or memorabilia. I would find one of their favorite players and I might put an autographed jersey, an autographed sports card in the mail to them, for example. I rarely ever do anything that is time sensitive, meaning I wouldn't send them, here are 2 tickets to XYZ football game, hope you can make it. But I would start to vary the gifts based on all the different personal things that I'm finding. And I look for something of utility that they're going to keep on their desk. They're going to hang it up. They're going to have it somewhere so that they're going to be remembered of you. They're not going to throw away a pen that is made out of wood from their alma mater, for example, or their favorite sports team. They're not going to throw away an autographed jersey or an autographed sports card. You could send them a really nice Cutco knife or knives, for example. Now, you can also send things in a little bit more quantity and lower the price. So maybe you're back at $20 or $25 and you're sending stuff twice a month because you're really trying to get noticed. You can deploy that, but I have again found that a little bit of a higher end and a more thoughtful gift rather than sending something once a month forever is going to get you noticed a little bit faster. And once, again, that gift goes out, you know that it's been delivered or received. You have to make sure that you have that extra follow-up. Don't just assume that because you had the handwritten letter in there, if you've got your phone number, they're going to call. They most likely are going to send a text, an email, or possibly a phone call and say thank you. But you want to make sure that you are being proactive. Now, one other thing to keep in mind with this, and I mentioned don't be sending anything cheap or really, really cheesy. The Dream 100 isn't about you sending things like lumpy mail. So, example, that's when people send things like shredded money in an envelope and say, you're shredding money by not working with me. That is what you're doing for prospects, not people that are on your Dream 100. That stuff is completely different, has nothing to do with the Dream 100. Other ideas, as I mentioned, things with their logo on them, you can send them really nice tumblers. And again, really nice, not the cheap like $8 tumblers, but rather you're going to send them a Yeti with their logo on it, for example, or a Stanley cup that has their name or their logo. You want to look for things that are personalized to them that they're going to want to keep and not throw away. More personal, the better. But again, knowing what is available easily that somebody could find. So it's not something that you would have had to have dug up after, 200 hours worth of research that nobody would have ever known something crazy and that's the gift you decided to pick, but more kind of broad strokes things that they have shown an interest in. The easiest one for me has always been where they went to college or they went to school and finding something there. We love the pens. If there's not pen blanks available for their university, you can send a sweater, you can send some pins or something that's going to fit nicely on their desk or on a shelf where they're at least going to see it. And ideally that then makes them think of you. So if you then have the follow-up strategy where you're calling, you're emailing, sending a message, so you've got that. And then from there, you continue. You keep going back to your daily singles. You're commenting on their social media. You had sent that gift. Ideally, they acknowledge the gift. Maybe that got you the meeting that you were looking for. But if it doesn't, you keep posting and commenting and sharing their stuff. Now, in terms of when do you send the next gift? With everything, it varies based on the relationship, the person, your industry. I typically don't send more than one gift a month to that particular prospect. And usually I'll go every other month. But again, if I'm working with those 100 and I'm starting to really work a list of 10 or 20, I very well might be sending a gift to every single one of those people every month. And I'm going to continue to warm up the other 80 in hopes that they too kind of make it onto that shorter list. And I'll probably work in a gift to a lot of those 80. But once I've got them hooked with something and I've sent a gift, I'm not going to stop unless they tell me, don't ever send me anything else. I don't want anything else. Please stop. Now, you could also get creative. You could have artists on a site like Fiverr.com draw them a picture. They could be a family portrait. It could be a picture of them where you hire someone that does caricatures. You have it framed and sent out, for example. Like, there's a lot of fun ways that are going to separate your gift and separate you from the noise. But I always want to make sure that you include that handwritten letter. The handwritten letter to me is just as important as the gift. That's why I don't like to send things right from sites like Gourmet Gift Baskets, because they're going to put your stuff in there, but it's not a handwritten letter. It doesn't show the effort. Whereas a pen, something custom, something you had to put some thought into, that's going to separate you from the pact. And from there, your gifts can kind of vary. I don't like to send things around the holidays. I tend to do things at other random holidays, so that maybe it's a Halloween, for example. Everyone sends certain gifts like gift baskets in the month of December. So I like to steer away from December. Maybe I'll send something earlier in the month. Maybe I'll send them a really cool gift for New Year's. I might look and see what they're reading. If they talk about certain books they've read, and maybe I'll buy a bundle of 3 or 4 books, put those in with the handwritten note saying, I think you might enjoy these books. If I see them in the media, or if they launch a new website, I might take a picture of the media article, see how much it would cost for me to license that particular article, have it framed and sent to them, and also let them know that I paid for the rights to have that particular article framed, so you do everything above board. If they launched a new website or new logo, you can go and literally get bottles of champagne, for example, with a logo or an image of their website. Or if they wrote a book, for example, it could be the cover of their book on a bottle of champagne. You can buy them an advertisement down in Times Square for roughly $250. It could be for a book or something like that. You say, hey, I thought of you. I wanted to buy this, helping promote your book launch just as a small thank you. Really love the book. And then they get that picture of their book in Times Square. There's just a lot of different things that you can do. But if I come full circle, the key is personalization and that handwritten letter combined with the follow-up. Want to make sure it got to you? Great, glad you love it. My phone number's on there. Would love to connect anytime. And then you keep up with the strategy. That's how you deploy the gifting strategy. So we're coming to the end. Next week's episode, we're going to kind of come full circle. We're going to talk through, what do you do? How long do you continue this for? Do you continue it for perpetuity? Do you come up with new Dream 100 names? And we'll start to kind of bring everything full circle. And then the final episode of this initial series will be kind of Q&A that I've been getting from everyone, and also some of the kind of do's and don'ts that fit in, some of the mistakes that I see people making. Hope you enjoyed today's episode on gifting. Comment, like, share, give me some love, and as always, have a wonderful rest of your day. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. See you.